Today we're going to look at fitting one of these, a RallyMoto Roadbook holder. It's the Adventure Cannonball Roadbook holder, which we use on a lot of our events, and it's smaller than a professional rally holder. Today we're going to put it on an enduro bike. We've put some tape on the bars already because the clamp that holds the Roadbook holder to the bike is a slightly different diameter. You need to beef up this a little bit so this clamp fits. And when we mount this, we can mount it either in a forwards direction. Some of the GSs like it in a forwards direction because the ignition is behind the handlebar, but you can mount it forwards or you can mount it backwards. The choice is yours. So the first thing we have to do is fit the clamp. Then we take the Roadbook and that shaft fits into there, nice and easy. And there we have it, all ready to go. It's a self-contained unit now. Controls are on this side. And next we're going to pop the top off and we're going to load the Roadbook. This is the Roadbook. And most of the time you'll be given it as a flat Roadbook with the header at this end. And what you want to do is you want to put the other end of the Roadbook in first. So what we do is we just take the Roadbook and we roll it up. And this is a little tip because we see at the events, you can do this in the signing on room or you can do this somewhere in the dry, but we just roll the Roadbook till we get to the other end because we load it in tail end first. You can load it in the other way, header first, but you'd only ever do it once because once you've wound it in, you've got to wind it all the way back again. Okay, so we just take a couple of seconds, roll the Roadbook up, and most of the time you're more familiar with it in a roll shape anyway. If you were doing a rally, you'd probably take your Roadbook and go to a briefing meeting and mark it up with your coloured pens and put your own personalised instructions on it. But as we're doing an Adventure Cannonball, we don't tend to mark the Roadbooks up. And we get to the end of the Roadbook. So you can see that like that. This is the end, the finish. This end is going to go into the Roadbook holder first. Okay, we've got the end of the Roadbook, and this Roadbook is going to go under this bar. There's 4 bars in here. 2 of them are attached to the winders, and we've got 2 bars, so the Roadbook goes over these bars. So the Roadbook goes between these bars and sits high, so you can see the maximum viewing area, and it holds it up against the screen. So to load the Roadbook we need a little bit of tape, which I've torn off earlier, and a little bit of tape just goes on the end of the Roadbook. You put it down between the top bar and the outside of the casing, and we put it into there. Then that tape goes onto that bar like that. So basically you wind this bar backwards. And just as a little tip, if you've got this now wound like this, you can just drop this into your Roadbook holder and continue to wind the whole Roadbook in. This Roadbook was for the Isle of Man 500. So this Roadbook here is actually 250 kilometers long. So we just keep winding that until we have it in the case. And the one thing, to say is that even when we use an electric Roadbook holder, we still wind it in manually because it saves the motors and it saves the battery on the bike. So at about 10 boxes from the end, you have the front end of the Roadbook. So the front end is the reverse of what we did. So we go over the top bar, between the top bar and the outside casing. So we go over like that. And it's really important to leave this big loop because you need to get your hand in there and you need to see what you're doing. So if you have a big loop, it makes life easier. So that goes on there and that goes on that way onto that bottom bar. Okay, so when you turn you're turning this away from you. And then we put it to the 0, 0 position, and we wind the back of the roadbook in. 0, 0 position. See, the paper's being held at the top of the roadbook, so when you put the lid on, it's almost up flat against the screen. And then once you move off, you can release the tension on this one by moving forwards, and then you just wind on using the top button, the top roller. Once the roadbook's in, what I always do, and it's a really neat little racing tip as well, is take a bit of tape and tape it to the outside of the roadbook. Sometimes the paper roll has a nick in it and it can rip when you're riding. So if you're riding and the paper roll rips, you're in trouble. So I tend to put a little bit of tape on the roadbook holder. So if that happens, you don't have to take anything out your backpack or anything. You can just fix your roadbook and get on your way as quickly as possible. So just a nice little tip. Okay, the next thing we do is we put our ICO on, and in this case we're going to be using a mobile app from F2R. This is the mobile app we use, which is really accurate, and it's good because it's micro adjustable. So that's important to keep the roadbook distance and your trip together. So the secret of rallying is having an accurate trip. Once you have an accurate trip, this all becomes very easy. So this is just a mobile phone, and we attach this on the plate on the right hand side. So we just use a couple of cable ties, tighten up the cable ties, and then just to be neat, we clip the ends off the cable ties. Okay, so that's set up now to be our trip. So when we start rolling, this will start it at 0, 0, 0, 0. The organisers tell you where your start mark and your 0, 0 point is on all road books. So we do 30 metres, we're at a T-junction, and we go left, and this will show, when we get to that point, that'll show 30 metres. Little tip is 0 it on the first point, not at 0. 0 at 0, 0, and at the first point when you actually make the turn, and then carry on. And if your trip goes out of sync with your roadbook, just adjust this to match this at the next junction. So with this setup now, this is solid, this is firmly attached, this is go to the 0, 0 point, and we can go rallying and we can go adventure rallying all day long with this setup. We usually recce our events with this setup, so we know everything works. So you're on your way, nice and easy.